Log number 3. Choose a school you must.
Hey everybody, so finally back with another vlog, and I was originally going to talk about specifically how to pursue certain jobs on the market, but this question that came up more than one occasion is, you know, what school should I go to? So I thought I'd address that because that comes up even with students I already have. When they want to finish the program, they may actually choose to do more studies, and I'll get that question quite a bit. Of course, this is as relates to being an artist, and more specifically concept artist or illustrator or anything 2D related, I would say, in illustration. You know, obviously you want to draw, you want to gain the skills and go to the right school, but if you know what avenue or what sector of industry that you want to do that type of work in, that will help dissect which school you eventually want to go to. So if you know for sure that you want to be a concept artist for games, but even in general terms, the occupation of a concept artist could also carry over into movies and toys. Well, I would say let me stick to movies and games, okay? If you know that's for sure what you want to do, you know, go and research some schools that perhaps go more that angle. Now in my case, like I mentioned in the last vlog, I went to the Kubert School, which is really focused on comic books, but now I'm, you know, and then I ended up doing games. Keep in mind there's a lot of crossover there because of the type of, not only the subject matter, but approaching how to do production and things like that. But essential to all of that, regardless, was learning the fundamentals or the foundation of illustrating, okay? So say you go to a fine arts school, and when you learn things like figure drawing, life drawing, perspective, you know, even if you go to another school, like even the school that I went to had that as well, the subject matter may differ. You know, in the fine arts school, maybe you'll look at more focus on the real world and still life and that kind of thing. But the bottom line is you still had to learn anatomy and all that, and the best way to do that is through life or figure drawing. Well, same in the case when I went to the Kubert School. I'm learning, you know, we're learning figure drawing and anatomy, and you eventually apply that to something related to comic books, obviously. So if you're just drawing Spider-Man or drawing your own character, you know, you still need to know anatomy. But what doesn't change is you still need to learn the fundamentals and the foundations. So we had life drawing, we had live models come in and you study the figure, you draw it, and that kind of thing. So if you decide to pursue animation, similarly you'll learn life drawing and anatomy and perspective and apply that to that field as well. If you're not sure and you may be interested in multiple sectors of industry, make sure you go to a school that gives you the foundation. That's the key thing. And then research those schools, do your homework about what they offer, talk to students and faculty if you can about it. It also comes down to your situation in terms of where you live and how much you can afford, and that's a big factor too. Why go to a school across the country or in another country unless it really suits you and you have the money to do it? Then sure, but if you can find something locally and get the foundation that you need, and it's more practical because of the cost and all that, then certainly pursue that. I mentioned I teach at two different schools, and they're very different. One is a privately funded school, private sector, and it's an accelerated program. It's only 18 months. Both of these are post-secondary, but this first one's with RCC Institute, and it's accelerated in the sense you're learning all the areas related to game development, whether it's concept, 3D modeling, level design, coding, game design. To some degree you learn all facets of that, and whereas another school, it's publicly funded, is George Brown College in Toronto. That's more of a recent thing that I've started teaching at. And that's a very different program. It's 3 years long, it's a 3-year program, but it's even more specific in that it's art-centric. And even within the art, it's divided into 2 streams. So you have your animation stream and you have your 3D modeling stream. So both programs are very different, and even in terms of equipment, very different. You know, one situation is probably better funded and better equipment than the other. But regardless of that, it really comes down to the student, and I find the same types of students regardless of which program I'm in. And it's the ones who have discipline and are very focused and are working hard. They're the ones that I see grow and do well regardless of which school they go to. So certainly picking the right school helps, and it helps in terms of accelerating and finding the right environment to learn the skills that you need. But at the end of the day, you have to really assess yourself. Am I going to be disciplined and commit to what I'm going to do here? For me, going to art school, it was two reasons. One was I didn't want to ask what if I had tried pursuing art. I didn't want to have to ask that question later in life. So I figured, you know, if I make this a good go and it doesn't work out, at least I know I tried for it and I'll never have to be haunted by the what if question. Okay, that was the first one. The second one was I knew I loved to draw, but I wanted to, you know, convince and prove to myself that I actually had the discipline to apply myself. Loving something and working hard at it is not the same thing, okay? It was temporary and it's a short-term sacrifice, very intense, but you have to think of the long term and how it'll pay off. So those were 2 years of going to school 8 hours a day or whatever it was, and then working another, you know, 8 to 12 hours after that, and all traditional too, right? And it wasn't digital. And so I would have, like, on average, you know, 4 to 5 hours of sleep. I lost like 15 pounds. But at the end of the day, it showed that, oh, not only do I love to draw, but I would prove to myself that I can actually commit to it. And that's a big part of it. When you're choosing the right school, first and foremost, find out as much as possible what exactly you want to pursue in that field of art, whether it's concept art for games or illustration for books or children's books or comic books, and then research the schools that are within your accessibility. Check those out, and then from there, you know, really kind of make that decision to really focus and put your time and energy and sweat into it. Because there's plenty of artists who are self-taught, and at the end of the day it comes down to their self-discipline. Again, school will help. Ideally it should help because you're in the right environment to foster that and to learn things right in a direct manner as opposed to trying to search for it on your own if you're self-taught. But even if you have the best school in the world, it really comes down to you. And that's what I meant about, even though I teach at 2 different schools, I see the students that have the right tools, they have all the equipment they need, but they don't apply themselves, or vice versa. And the same goes with whatever program they're doing. So that's the thing. There's no do this for me, make me, you know, guarantee me this job by going to this school. I mean, it still is going to come down to you focusing and working hard and honing your craft. A lot of it afterwards for me was a big learning curve or acceleration in terms of what I learned was definitely work experience. And working on the job, I learned so many things that I couldn't have in school, and that's part of it. But it's the same idea in terms of having that right environment. When you're in school, you have that environment. You have instructors, you have other students, and you're all, you know, feeding off each other in your creativity and your skill set and methodology. And same when you start to work in a studio and for a company. But even after that, it really comes down to you and keeping that up, right? So in the last 5-6 years since I was working at a game developer, now I'm freelancing and teaching. You know, where am I learning and picking up things? Well, that's the great thing about the internet. I mean, I myself, like many of you, constantly looking at tutorials that are available, and a lot of them are free, and just finding out and learning what other artists do, their approach, their techniques or tips. If you already have a lot of discipline, that's good, and you tend to draw on your own regardless, that's a good start. And if you have the time and inclination to go to a school, pick the right one that's suited for where you are, where you're at, and what you want to pursue, and research it, okay? Research these schools, and then go from there. The other alternative is, say you, again, going back to the idea that you love to draw, but you really don't know where or what specifically and what avenue, try, you know, short-term courses or open houses or, you know, those weekend programs. Anything that gives you a taste of something, and it may actually open your mind and either reaffirm or kind of prove to you whether something is right for you or not. So that's another suggestion I would make. Try to really figure out what it is you really want to learn and what you want to pursue as far as art goes, and find the school that seems in line not only with what you're pursuing, the right environment, because there's online education too, and that's a possibility too. It really comes down to each individual, what's the best method for learning for them, and their situation in terms of where they live and finances, all that kind of thing. And so that's I hope that answers some of the questions about looking into what's the right school for you. Okay, like I had mentioned in the last vlog, sometimes students will come along thinking because they're going to a video game program that in some way gives them some edge in guaranteeing the job in industry. It doesn't, right? Because it does only if you do all the things I mentioned before, that you're focused, you work hard, and you're diligent. Then you gain some very direct learning and immersive things and projects that are obviously related to what you want to do because it's video game centric. But if you just go in thinking I just need to get the degree and just like approaching school in general, that's not going to give you the job, because it's going to come down to your portfolio and things like that. Don't take this attitude of what's the easiest way. If you work hard and you're diligent, still operating smartly, but at the same time just very focused and determined, and putting your money where your mouth is, right? Being able to act on what you're hoping and dreaming. The bigger your dream is, the more you need to be willing to put your sweat into it and to work hard and to pull all stops. So again, I hope that answers some of the questions related to pursuing the right school for you. And as always, feel free to leave comments and more questions. And of course, to my students who already have past and present, you continue to ask me in person, and I'll try to incorporate these into these vlogs. Alright, take care. Peace.
The Precious wants you to subscribe. Ellen.